better as a result of social media presence.
If it doesn't do those three things, then it's on the chopping block.
It's a return on investment discussion.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host Sam Darkin. Thank you for joining us today in this gathering place for all automotive to learn, to share, and to have that all-important voice. And today we're diving into one of the hottest debates in automotive retail, one price versus negotiation. Let's do a roundtable. But first, before we get into that, today's industry headlines. First up today, we've got fresh data from Kelley Blue Book, which shows that new car prices have crossed a, get this, $50,000 threshold. This for the very first time. September's average transaction price climbed just over 2% from August and nearly 4% year over year. This is fueled by a heavier mix of luxury models and higher priced EVs. Analysts say incentive spending has crept up about 7.5% of the sticker, which is roughly $3,700 a car, giving shoppers a little breathing room, but not nearly enough to turn the tide. Big picture here, strong grosses are nice, but as prices climb, the buyer pool is getting smaller and smaller as more shoppers drift to used or wait it out entirely. Manufacturers will need to up that incentive to bring that price back down to help consumers. That's my own personal take on that. Next up today on the financing side, JP Morgan Chase is flagging fresh risks in auto credit. CEO Jamie Dimon says the recent bankruptcies of auto parts supplier First Brands and subprime lender Tricolor Holdings could be early signs of broader stress. For context, the bank took a $170 million charge-off tied to Tricolor alone in what Dimon called, quote, not their finest moment. He also added that when one problem shows up, there's usually more behind it. That's not a light warning, especially as credit keeps tightening across auto retail. Because when financing costs climb and loans get harder to secure, dealers feel it fast. Operations tighten up, growth slows down, and more focus shifts to service and used sales just to keep margins healthy. And finally up today, after several years of soft sales at luxury level prices, Stellantis is rethinking the Grand Wagoneer's place in the marketplace. For 2026, pricing starts just over $62,000. That's down sharply from nearly $85,000 on last year's model, with a new hybrid variant, updated styling, and simplified trims built for easier retail. Stellantis admits the Grand Wagoneer drifted too far up market. So the new approach is all about bringing it back in line with Jeep's core DNA in hopes it'll be easier to stock and sell. Well, that's a wrap on today's industry headlines. All right, let's jump into it. This topic has long been asked for. We'll set it up just a little bit. As inventory normalizes, margins tighten, and customer expectations evolve, the question is, does one price actually build trust and efficiency, or does it strip away that emotional connection that's made car buying great for decades? And before we launch into the panel, a reminder, we're live streaming across all our social media platforms everywhere. Join this conversation. One price, negotiation, what best serves the customer, the dealer, our dealership employees, and what best puts our best foot forward. We've got four powerhouse voices here today, two on each side of the debate. First up, we've got Jeff Miller, CEO of Mark Miller Subaru, Utah-based, one of the first true one-price pioneers in the country. He says one price has driven higher sales, stronger CSI, and better employee satisfaction. Jeff Miller, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And Jeff, just a little side note, you're actually one of the reasons we're doing this roundtable, because you came on the show a couple months ago. I don't remember what the topic was, just sharing about your dealership, and there was a ton of conversation online. What's better, one price or non-negotiating? So we're here to talk with you and this entire panel about it. Next up, we've got Bart Schlosser, GM of Tomwood Lexus in Indiana. He's pro one price, believes transparency removes friction and elevates the customer experience. Bart, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And Bart, you're not too far from me in the Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan marketplace. So, and great dealer group out there. And then next up, Tustin Ulrich, GM of Roper Kia. He's seen both sides and says one price isn't the silver bullet it's made out to be. After trying it a couple different ways, he says negotiate. Tustin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And finally up today on this panel, Matt Birckhead, dealer principal at Sir Walter Chevrolet in Raleigh, South Carolina, who warns that one price can make the process transactional, losing the human connection that separates great stores from good ones. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to being part of this.
All right, let's go. And to all of our dealer audience, vendors watching, tell us in the comments, does one price boost CSI and trust, or does it kill your grosses? Let's hear from you. And just write out, we've got a ton of engagement online. Supervisor Dan says hello from London. He's our international audience for today. And then your favorite bald guy says, good morning, everyone from Tracy Honda in California. All right, Jeff, let's start out with you. Mark Miller, Subaru's been one price for years now. What's the real business impact of having transition from negotiating to one price? Have you seen measurable improvements in volume, CSI, and employee happiness?
I think all three. Really, when you look at one price, it's really just meeting the customer where they want to be. We did a lot of research on one price before we went to it over a decade ago, and it's really only about 10 to 20% of the population that actually wants to negotiate a car deal, but 95% of car dealerships negotiate. It really doesn't make sense to not meet a customer with what they want and how they want to have that purchase go. So by doing that, it's not only increased sales, but our grosses haven't been hit at all by it. And really our CSI and employee satisfaction is as good as it can get.
So when you sit in groups, as we all do, 20 groups, we benchmark against NADA and whatnot. How do you compare in terms of front-end gross and total net gross to others in the industry that are in the negotiating standpoint, that negotiate versus one price?
I would say even since we've been doing it from our front-end gross standpoints, we're right on average with the rest of our 20 group. I'm in a Subaru 20 group of 20 big-time Subaru retailers across the country, and we're right there on average on front-end gross. From a back-end stuff, I think back-end's not as much impacted by one price. I think that's more about how you train and how you really focus on the back end. We've put a big focus on back end over the last 12 to 18 months and really seen big improvements there just by focusing on that in a different way.
So is the back end similar? Is it one price as well? Is it just, hey, take it or leave it? Or do your finance managers have the ability to engage and negotiate with the customer?
Same way. It's still a one price.
Same way.
Yeah, still one price across the board that we have set pricing across. And then there's some discounts if you package. We do some package deals where if you discount together as a package, but it's not a deal by deal. The finance manager gets to decide who gets a better deal on a service contract. We don't do that.
Okay. So NADA shows that the average front end gross is down about 20% year over year. So this year compared to last, is that consistent with yours, or has it been flat through that through the past year?
Yeah, as we've seen inventory increase in the Subaru world, we were down in the 10 to 20 day supply in the inventory world. Now we're back up to 45, 60 days. So we are seeing front end grosses go down because of that.
Yeah. So it's interesting, and I'm going to open this up to anybody. As you say this, Jeff, you say, hey, we're going to meet the customer where they want to be. We're using a percent stat that you quote about what percentage of people like to negotiate versus not. By saying we're not negotiating, that's not necessarily meeting the customer where they want to be. That's meeting most of the customers where they want to be per that survey. What do you do with the rest who say, hey, I want to negotiate?
So it's an interesting world because you talk to most retailers out there and you ask a retailer, who's your target audience? And they'll say everybody. Everybody can come buy a car from me. And really, like, marketing 101 is you need to target and you need to be focusing on the customers that are best for your company and the best for what you want. And so by us focusing on that, say 85% of customers that don't want to negotiate, just want a great experience, want to be treated fairly, don't want to be taken advantage of, is how they will put it if you listen to their words. You're letting that other 15% that want to fight and want to have that increment, they go somewhere else. And it's perfectly fine with them going somewhere else. And what we found is actually those generally, that 15% of customers that ends up going somewhere else are generally your problem childs in the service department anyway. So you
interesting.
End up better
so
all
Matt,
in the cycle.
Yeah. So Matt, how would you respond to that as an advocate for continuing to negotiate? Does doing one price remove your ability to meet the customer where they want to be?
Well, I think, it has to be ingrained in your culture, right? And one price, I'm assuming you're doing it on new and used.
Yes, on everything.
both, and I think, that's where it gets tough for us. I would say over 50% of our leads, and we did no haggle on used for a long time. We're right across from a CarMax store, and every other lead that came in is still asking about price, right? Wanting to negotiate before they come into the store. And for me also, we're all using vAuto, we're using VinQ, whatever you're using, right? We're all doing market-based pricing. We're using, sophisticated data to get the best price out there so that you even get that lead. So, but with that said, you're also, I assume we all here have aging rules on pricing, right? So
Yeah.
as you are lowering that price over time, are you really even one price at that point, because you're showing customers that the initial price is going to change, over time. On new cars, the price can change depending on rebates and stuff like that. So I think there's a big balance also, with the Carvanas and the CarMaxes on losing that human connection, using the discussion as you're trying to get someone into the store. Obviously, we all want transparency, right? I mean, you're not going to tell them a price, up front, and then they come into the store and it's a different price. But the price that you may, end up discussing may not have been the price that they, initially discussed. There's a lot of variables in car deals, right? I mean, credit, et cetera, so there's people that are payment shopping too. You may have an old car that's 60 days old. We have a 60-day age policy, right? You're going to lose a deal on day 59 over, a few $100s. And I feel that, when we were doing that no haggle, once you do it once, it's over with, right? You've kind of destroyed that culture. So that was kind of our sticking point, if you do it once or make an exception, it's kind of gone.
So Bart, you do one price at Tom Wood.
Yep.
Matt makes an interesting point. With technology, you're continually updating pricing, right, to match market and aging rules and whatnot. How does your one price strategy adapt to the changing market trends, and do you lose credibility as those prices change and it essentially reverts to negotiating at that point?
Right. So, Matt brings up a very good point. We're on the same pricing model, right? We do the same. We bring down the price as we have a 60-day policy also. And as we get, closer to that 60 days, we just got to be a little bit more sensitive to it. Right. And, watching the VDPs and everything that's taking place on that particular car. But when the opportunity presents itself, we find that we still move the car, right? The car still moves. And if it is aged, there's probably a reason why it's aging. And, we'll move it off to one of our other stores or we'll take it to auction, right? You've got to find yourself, not to use the old Tommy Gibbs model, but there's a reason why you still have it at 60 days and you should be liquidating that car. So we don't put ourselves in a position pricing wise that we have that car at 60 days. If it's there, we liquidate.
So Bart, are you saying you liquidate as it ages rather than move the price, or will you update the price and say that still counts as
constantly? I mean, we move prices, I don't know, 3-4 times a week, right? It's all based upon, the activity that's taking place online, especially with, like I said, with VDPs and everything that's taking place with the car. We're constantly monitoring that car. So now we even have some guests, and we're transparent in the process, that this car's price may go down, right, as it ages. And we may have some people that game and say, okay, I'm just going to wait another week until you bring the price down. Okay,
Right.
That's fine. But guess what? There's probably another person that's going to come in the store that's going to probably buy this car. So if you want to go that route, you can go that route. But this is the price. And sometimes that can get people the engagement. Sometimes they game it. So back to, what Jeff was saying earlier, sometimes you just got to say, that's the price of the car and it goes.
So Tustin, if we're changing the pricing for market conditions and the customer can see that change, is that one price? Is that non-negotiating?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought for sure. And the question I would ask Bart as he made the sentiment of gamifying it a little bit and telling the guest, hey, the price might go down, but you can wait it out and see. But there's someone coming behind you. Sounds awfully close to COVID times when dealers are doing the same thing with new car inventory and excessive markups. You look at Tellurides in 2020, dealers in Florida were getting $25,000 over sticker. It's just a crazy amount of money. I think the true thing that we need to talk about is how we can generate a better guest experience. I do appreciate that Bart called the customer the guest, because we do the same thing because of unreasonable hospitality. But you know, I think a lot of what's created this decisiveness, in my opinion, are the dealers that are choosing to advertise a low price that they're not willing to honor when a guest shows up, and instead try to charge an irrational amount of fees for things that you may or may not agree with that add value to the guest experience. And they just refuse to honor a price, and it's buried somewhere 4 lines into a paragraph that you can't find. And it's that experience that I would safely say none of the 4 dealers in this room right now are doing any tactic anywhere close to that. So it's us trying to provide a great customer experience that's going to make a significant difference. And it's the dealers out there that are just refusing to play by the right rules and take care of the guests that are creating this debate at all.
Bart, your response?
Yeah, my first reaction is with the compression of margins, I can see why that challenge presents itself, Tustin. I see where dealers are put into that position, but it is also very important that you maintain that transparency. But for us, we do everything. We even contemplated putting on the ads that Tustin brought up, but we quickly vacated that. No other way to describe it, because of the concerns that you brought up. And it's all part of the transparency that's on it. It is so vitally important. Part of the reason why one price for us is we want to go a different route than the traditional manner. And by having that transparency, having that straight up where it's at, we're kind of going against the grain, and we want to be in a position where, you know, we're just 100% transparent, and we just don't enter into that realm. No other way to describe it.
I guess my question, if you don't mind me asking, my question back to that would be, I feel like that's insinuating that dealers that are not one price are not transparent.
I would say that, and we use the term traditional. That's not everybody, right? For us, we just, this is our culture. This is how we roll. This is how we conduct ourselves. And that one price environment with all of our employees that we've brought up through the years has put us in a position where it's just who we are now. And by going against, I'm really not concerned about other dealers, I guess. That's where I'm coming from, I guess.
But that is a value proposition, right, of one price. One price is insinuated in one price. It is greater transparency, no negotiation, because you buy the car. I mean, I was part of that at Saturn back in the 90s. Look, you this is the price. And one of the disciplines is you either sell it at that price or you don't. And if you don't, you lose the credibility, and you might as well go back to negotiating, right? So I think
Sam, really, the value becomes everything in it. I mean, it's all about value when you're in the one price, because you don't have the price as a salesperson, or we call them product specialists. But so our product specialists can't use that silver bullet of, oh, I'll knock $500 off to close this deal. They truly have to listen to the customer. They truly have to do needs assessments to figure out what that customer really wants. Our salespeople aren't paid on gross-based commissions either. So because of that, they get paid the same if they sell a $10,000 car or a $60,000 car. So because of that, they're actually out there, and we really, really are careful about not putting spiffs on cars. I don't put a $1,000 bounty on a 50-day unit, because that's going to make my salesperson, my product specialist, push someone to something that they may not want. So by doing that, we really do focus on everything we do is about value-based selling.
Interesting. So, Matt, what would you say to that? One price, you focus on value with the customer, building the value in the vehicle versus justifying the price. And the traditional model doesn't allow for as much value because you're focused on what is that end price. And maybe like there's a little bit of an assumption by the consumer that they can take advantage of you. There's always that chance you make a higher profit with them.
Sure.
And so it's more about the price, not the value, Matt.
I think on that building value, right? I mean, we all want to do that with the vehicles. I would love to sell every vehicle the way we have it priced on the website, right? I think it's easier said than done on used than it is on new. We're here in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're in our LMA. We have 21 Chevy dealers, right? So it's hard to build value around a black Silverado. We all have 40 of them sitting on the lot, right? So the value becomes in the human connection, and if the human connection for our store is, obviously we're transparent. The price online is the price that you're going to pay. But if we're certainly not going to lose a deal to competition over, if it's a few $100s. And again, I just go back to, if you're not sticking to your guns, on the true no negotiation, once you make an exception, whatever that exception may be, if it's to hit SFE at the end of the month or whatever, then you've kind of brought down that whole culture. So, maybe it's more market dependent. We have, like I said, we have CarMax across the street as well. When I tried that no haggle here years ago, to try to compete with them, I didn't really see a boost in sales or anything like that. So, for us, maybe it is, geographical dependent. Or maybe it's just that we didn't, have it ingrained throughout our whole culture. We were doing it on used, not on new.
Hey, Matt.
And our salespeople aren't paid on gross either. We're volume focused. So, yeah, sorry.
So I was going to say, hey, Matt, real quick question for you. Do you think by you being in a position, you're across the street from a CarMax store, right?
Yep.
Do you think that that's an advantage for you that you do negotiate, or do you think you steal some deals from them just because they don't negotiate?
They sell a lot more cars than us, so I don't know that we are stealing deals. I think a lot of times with CarMax, it's around value of the trade, right? That's when people are coming back and forth. And again, I like to think most of the consumers are well educated now, right? They do a lot of research. They're pitting dealers against dealers. They're finding the 3 or 4 vehicles that they like and submitting the leads. And it comes back to that human connection, right? Who do they feel most comfortable with? Who answers, who sent the video in front of the car, right? They feel that connection with the salesperson. I just worry that you become so transactional without the proper culture on a one price strategy that you end up like a Carvana, right? I don't know if you guys have shopped them, but it's a AI bot, right? That's all they have. And you submit it, and their lead form is a digital, it's a DR tool. There's no lead form where you're just submitting information, shoot me best price or comps or anything like that. It's you're buying the car online. That's it. It's single point store, our advantages are people. And I just worry that we would lose some of that personal touch point. If we truly were going to say no negotiation, to me, it's a hard line. You're going to do like what Jeff's done and obviously has been successful for him. Or say, we're going to be willing to work with some people. They may be credit challenged. Like I said, you may need to get a few more Silverados over the line at the end of the month. But once you cross that line, I think it's hard to go back.
Yeah, Matt, and I mean, I agree. I mean, I think by making the one price, like I was talking about before, is it requires especially on internet leads and everything like that, it requires our salespeople to become more personable and create more of a personal touch in order to get that deal, because they can't just beat a price. So all of our salespeople are required to send a video within 5 minutes of every internet lead. And we do all those things to make sure that we're creating this thing so customers know when they come in, they're going to have the easiest experience possible. Ease of experience is what the best part of one price is. I mean, we sell cars in 30 minutes. I mean, most retail across the world, they're selling cars in 2-3 hours because of this back and forth. And you get when you get a customer at that salesperson's desk, and all of a sudden they're pulling out a pencil and showing on the payments, and the customer's like, well, aren't you going to go talk to your manager, your boss? And the product specialist is like, why would I? I don't have to do that. Here's the deal. Like, we're done.
Right. I assume you get people that are still trying to negotiate trade price though, right?
So we're very upfront right from the get-go, and we really push this idea of within 30 seconds of you walking into our store, we're going to explain to you how we do business. Right. And give you the opportunity. If you don't want to do business that way, we're not going to waste your time and take you through the process. And on a trade idea, we do the same thing. We'll provide, in the Subaru world, we have what's called guaranteed trade program, and then we have instant cash offer with Kelly and our appraisals. So we're essentially giving 3 appraisals on every car.
Right.
And you get the best of the 3. and we don't negotiate appraisals, because I feel like if you're negotiating appraisals, you're negotiating.
Well, that's that's where I was going with it. Yeah.
Salt Lake that tried to do one price, and all they did was just did it all through trade. And so they just would negotiate and lowball trades by $3,000. I don't allow or under allow on trades. So the number is what it is. We buy it whether you buy a car from us or not. It's a true buy offer. And I think that's really important to the one price philosophy.
Ours is exactly the same as Jeff's, just the exact same process.
Do you think that there are OEMs that this works for better one price versus traditional negotiation and not? Like, are there certain OEMs? I think about, Lexus had Lexus Plus during COVID, right? They encouraged it. They kind of stepped away from it. Subaru, I don't know if they would encourage it more or not. Jeff, I think
Subaru would love it I'm on Subaru's national council. I would tell you Subaru would love it if every retailer in the world became one price overnight. But I mean, you talk about it's about closing. It's about percentages and numbers. Our biggest metric that we saw, as you talk about metrics, is from pre-one price to post-one price. We went from a first-time closing rate of about 28%, which is about national average, to 42. We close 42% of our customers that walk in the door walk out with a car. And by doing that, it's less time for salespeople. You need less salespeople on the floor. Our average salespeople sell 15 to 16 cars. And it creates that idea where it's about closing, it's about numbers. You can sell more with less customers.
To speak to that, though, I don't think that one price is necessarily the silver bullet that defines any of those things. I think if you have a strong culture that trains its people well, so I hear what you're saying, but we also average 15 to 16 cars per person. We also have a very efficient staff. We also, as Jeff mentioned earlier, as Bart mentioned earlier, same thing. When we have a VIP guest that sends in a lead on a particular car, they get a video within 5 minutes. We pull the car up front to an area that's designed for VIP, hang tag with their name. We reserve the car for them and won't sell them to a guest that's there standing. If someone has submitted a lead within 90 minutes, we have their drink of choice up front. We do all those same things, and we will 100% honor the price on the website with no additional fees, markups, any games or gimmicks. So we try to embody a lot of the same positive qualities that you guys are speaking to, just not necessarily using one price as the line to get there.
And if you're going all that way, Tustin, you talk about honoring the price and not having any extras. Like, those are a lot of words that dealers that are one price would use. What's the line for you? Why not just commit to a one price? Why not just offer that as part of your value proposition? What do you see value in the negotiating piece?
Yeah, I think that there are a percentage of people that still enjoy negotiating an aspect of it. I don't know if I could speak to what that percentage is. I don't know if anybody really could, but to me, it's one of the last few things you can negotiate. And maybe it is geographically based. We are in Southwest Missouri. In Southwest Missouri, it is a lot of farmers who are used to the air quote term from the 90s, fender trading on their Silverado pickups when they would buy them at the end of the tax year. And those certainly are not techniques any of us enjoy today. We want manager involvement early. We don't want fender trading. We don't want salespeople that lean on price. But, we went through a pretty radical change at my store 2 years ago to become significantly more efficient, to become better for our guests, better experience, provide top level customer service. A lot of that was hinged on reading the book that we talked about in the beginning of this. We talked about Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And, how can we provide that level of service? They're providing that level of service for a $400 meal. We're selling $35,000, $45,000, $50,000 cars. Like, we have a responsibility to the guest and really to the industry to be different than what a lot of dealers are giving everybody such a bad name for.
Tustin, where do you think the highest profitability for the dealership is in the employees, which again allows you to hire the best people? It allows you to have the best facilities, get the best return. Is it in a negotiating environment or one price?
I think it's in culture. I think, what are you doing to set up your day? At our store, we adopted a lot of the principles of what Glenn and 800% Club do, but we do daily meetings. Our entire sales staff is in the same meeting with the BDC department every day at 8:30. We read through our core values, our pledge to the guests. We read daily affirmations. We talk about where we are with pace, how we can better serve our guests, product training. We're doing all of these things every single day. And when you do those things the right way, and when you take care of your employees and make sure they don't miss Johnny's football games on Saturdays, regardless of what target you're chasing, you do those things daily, not consistently. You don't love your wife consistently. You love your wife daily, right? So when you do those things daily and you build the culture the appropriate way, you can have all the attributes that Jeff and Bart are talking about in a one price store, yet still give room to negotiate and not feel like you have to walk that guest or play the game just because you're holding a line.
So any response on that? And then I want to talk employees, because you bring up a great point, Tustin. Any response on that, Bart?
Yeah. So, in the Tom Wood group, we're the only one price store. The Lexus store is the only one price store in the group, right? And it was a decision that we made individually. And I always say this, one price is not for everybody, right? And it's based upon the culture that you want to develop in the leadership role that you have, right? And as Tustin brought up, right, you have your employees that gravitate to your model, right, to your culture. And same thing happens in our world in the one price. We have sales consultants that, I love the car business, but man, I just don't want to have to deal with all that negotiation, man. If you could just get rid of it, man, that I'm all in. And those are the people that gravitate toward us and then have a passion for it too, and are advocates for you as part of the process in the one price environment.
So speaking then of employees, let's go there. There's a great comment online, and there are so many comments, by the way. It's gonna be tough to get to everybody's comments. It's just lit up. I got to find the one about retention. So there's a great question. It says, what is each dealership employee's sales department turnover in one price versus negotiating dealers? And be honest. So what do your salespeople prefer, and what do they stay for? Is it the traditional engagement negotiation, or is it one price?
I mean, we have very, very low turnover. Between my two Subaru stores I have in Salt Lake, I've got about 32 salespeople. I probably hire 4 a year.
Okay.
A year, maybe.
Bart?
So when we, obviously Lexus is on an upturn right now sales wise. So in December of 22, we had 8 sales consultants. Now we have 15. We've added. We have not replaced anybody. Nobody has left. Now, that being said, when we, like Jeff, we went one price 10 years ago, we lost a lot of people. We had, I guarantee you, we were probably 80-90% turnover, because you had that culture that loved negotiation, and then you switch to a culture of non-negotiation, you're going to have fallout. And we did, right? But since December of 22, we haven't lost anybody. We just added to the sales consultants.
Tustin?
Yeah, so like I said, we went through a pretty radical change 2 years ago. Our marketing model was not efficient and certainly not on brand with what Kia Motors America liked. And so we changed that. And by changing that, we've become more efficient. And by more efficient, I mean, we're increasing volume. We're up about 28% year over year. However, we're doing it with less salespeople. We had 21 salespeople 2 years ago. We run with 14 salespeople now. And so it's just about making sure we have the right people in the right seats doing the right things. And I want to make sure everyone that's on this bus is bought in 100%.
Tustin, I think you're almost one price. You just don't want to say it and draw that line. Because listen, part of your shtick is this. We're fully transparent, which we all are. Nobody says that anybody here isn't. I think you're like just a couple degrees away. And I think there are groups that will say, hey, we're going to go one price. And then you have the uprising, right? Like what Bart said he had. And the shipmates turn the ship, right? It's a little bit of a hostile takeover. And I wonder if a little bit of success in that world is getting the training and the culture right. Matt, what's your perspective and what's your retention?
Yeah, I mean, our retention's very strong over there. We have 15 sales folks. I think we've had, the ones that have come in and out haven't been due to, our negotiating or non-negotiating pricing strategy, right? And I like to think that our culture is strong enough that if we said, this afternoon we're going to go to a one price and we're fully convicted and explain why we were doing it, I think they'd be bought in too. We're doing a lot of the things that, Tustin talked about. Actually, I'm taking notes on Tustin's playbook right here. So we're
stealing his playbook.
We've got a daily.
He literally did.
On the sales side, right? So we're asking a lot of them. We open at 9. We're asking them to get here at 8:30 and doing a daily sales meeting every morning. We're breaking out and doing a save a deal 15 minutes after that initial 15-minute meeting, and those initial 15 minutes we're going over reviews. We're building people up, right? It's all positive. Going over, did we win the previous day? Based on a 15, like if yesterday our goal was 7, did we sell 8 cars? And that's based off 15% daily growth. So doing those things every morning. We're going right outside after that and getting folks to take stuff, put stuff up on social media. And then following that, we go and do a trade walk, right? So we've added a lot of things into the process to better educate our salespeople. What's here, what's on the lot. What we haven't discussed is price, right? We want them just to take care of the customers. I think it's the managers. It's our job to set the pricing and make sure that things are aligned in a profitable way. At the end of the day, we want the salespeople to just give our guests the best experience possible.
Yeah. So you're saying maybe it's not about the pricing model. It's about the culture and the training and what you set up in store in between the years as you engage in. To that point, Jeff, I've got a question. Cox Automotive data shows 56% of customers say that they hate to negotiate. That's on Cox. But they also say 72% still try to negotiate anyway. Like, what do you do with the messy middle where they may say they want one thing, but everybody thinks they're a little special, right? And so they want that exception from you. How do you meet them where they want to be if they're doing different?
We've had a good line for that we've used for over a decade. And what happens is, like we talked about, the idea is we really do train hard on the idea. Within the first 30 seconds of coming in our store, you are being told that we are one price. This is how it's going to be. The price is on the window. We have digital hang tags on every car. That is the price of the vehicle. And what happens is you get to the end of it, and 80-90% of the time, they're always going to ask. Someone's always going to ask, can I have a couple $100? Can I get floor mats? Can I get whatever? And in the first year, it used to be that I'd get a phone call once a week at my desk as general manager saying, hey, this customer wants to talk to you. And the customer would be like, oh, are you really going to lose my business over $50? Are you going to lose my business over $100? And I would always say to that customer is, when you walked in the store, did my product specialist explain to you how you did business? We do business here. And they say, yes, he said you're one price. So I would say, so if I were to give you $100 off right now, it would mean we've been lying to you since the moment you walked in the door. So and most customers hear that and they're like, okay. And 95% of them say, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And they're really just testing you. You also get customers that do the walk out to their car and sit in their car, and 45 seconds later, they'll get back in and walk back in the store, and they're just seeing if you're really going to hold tight to your one price or if you're just lying. And so by really holding to it, you get beyond that very easily.
Tustin, would you give them the floor mats in your model that's almost one price?
Yeah, it is. I like that I'm now being tagged as the almost one price. That's fantastic. It's at the end of the day, we're going to earn the guest business. We want the trade. We want the service work. We want them in our ecosystem. I want the flexibility to give them the floor mats if that $85 is what's required to earn their business today, and not have to say, I completely understand if you would like to go to the dealer 40 minutes from here and see if they will include the floor mats at the same price, because we all know they will. And I'm just not willing to lose that guest over $85. Jeff, I love the line. I love the sentiment. I love what it represents. I love that it speaks through from Jump Street. Like, that is fantastic. And it's not from a fear of loss. It is, I just want to get them in our ecosystem today because I believe in momentum, and I don't want that momentum to be lost ever.
But it is interesting because people do crave transparency. They crave integrity. Trust is ground zero for every relationship. Being able to say, we're not going to give up that trust and that transparency by giving away those floor mats. Does it earn you more business than not? And by the way, yoga cars messaged in Tustin, you'll know, half one price, trademark pending. So yoga car wants patent pending on that particular
Sam, on
phrase.
that comment, I would say where it really goes is repeat business. Is once you're on one price for multiple years and you get those customers coming back, then they know who you are. They know what you're going to do. They walk in the door and say, I'll take the green one and write it up. Especially on
to ask, as profits are compressing, are you giving up a little bit of profitability you've created by having an incredible culture and a great service department that has a guest coming back? I mean, guests will spend a little bit more for repeat business because they trust you so much more. So are you sacrificing a little bit of profit there?
I mean, I think you could probably say that there is some sacrifice of profit there. But I mean, I think we've proven, a lot of people, especially in the Subaru world, have always looked at me and said, how could you possibly do that? Like, your guy down the street just going to beat you by $100 or throw in those floor mats. Like, you must not be in a competitive environment. I mean, I've got a Subaru store 2 miles from me. So in Salt Lake City, we're the two closest Subaru stores in the country.
How does that, yeah.
Even when we send people away and they go down the street to that customer, because our experience and our culture, going back to what you're talking about, it's so much better that even if we get beat by $200-$300, they still come back and buy from us because they know we really do push it to the finance side as well. One thing that we really started about 4 years ago, I think, is I don't mark up rate. And what I did is I did some statistical analysis on it, and by not marking up rate and selling on the fact that we're not going to mark up rate, you're going to have the same experience in our finance department, we're not going to make money on you there, it's worth about 3 to 4% in closing ratio. So that 3 to 4% in closing ratio more than makes up what I ever made in reserves when you take in chargebacks into account.
You make no finance reserve on any of your F&I
Just
transactions
flats.
aside from
Only
the
flats. We give best rate to every customer.
What's your average PVR?
On the back end right now, 1,600.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good on you.
But I'm hearing you talk, Jeff, and for me, it's, I don't know if it's the one price, because a lot of our customers don't know about, that we can, keep a spread or whatever, right? To me, what I'm hearing is that you've got your whole team rowing in the same direction, right? So it's really your team and the culture in the store that's believing in this, that's making it work, right? It may or may not be that customers are liking it. I don't know what you're selling versus the guy down the street, but to me, that's what I'm hearing, on your side, is that really the store culture. You've given everyone in the store something to rally around, something that they fully believe in, right?
Yeah, without question, in the one price world, that is the most important thing. If you're ever going that way, is that the owner, general manager, general sales manager, sales managers across the board all believe in it, and all believe it's the right thing to do and it's the best way to do it. And we lost, like he was saying, when we first went one price, I lost 2 sales managers within the first 2 months because they didn't believe in it. And you knew they didn't believe in it. They didn't think it was right, so they couldn't be here.
Jeff, how long does it take to get the ship turned? Where you get people to believe? Because Jeff, you talked about it. Bart talked about the departure of teams that aren't used to it. 2 years, you say, Bart?
Oh no, it was a good 3 years. And to Jeff's point, man, you got to have buy-in from owner, general manager, and then in our particular case, it was those, as Jeff said, those 2 managers, and that once you move on from those 2 managers, and then you bring in people that truly do believe, and usually you find those people on your bench, right? And they're the ones that are coming up through the system and are very passionate about it and make good managers. It was those managers that helped propel it even further. When they're like, okay, good, this is working, they believe us, and then the buy-in happens even further, and then it brings even more people on board. But I would say at least it's 2 to 3 years. It's a 2 to 3 year process beginning to end.
And is that pain in the 2 to 3 years worth being able to deliver on the promise? Lexus itself went down this road and abandoned it. What does that tell you if the OEM, Bart, isn't willing to stick to their guns on it.
Well, we had this thing that interfered with that called COVID. So, and they had to scale back some of their involvement in initiatives, and Lexus Plus didn't make it. But it's all of a sudden we use the term, and it was even part of the Lexus Plus process. Burn the ship, right? You burn the ships, you don't go back, and we burn the ship. So even if Lexus left, we burned the ship. We're not going back, right? And we maintained it. And I believe that as we define and refine the process, the efficiency is the one thing I think Jeff is speaking to also. The efficiencies is associated with the one price. It just moves because you just got to move the process along faster. Does that cut away from the personal interaction? Some could say yes. Some could say, in our particular case with Lexus, time is the most important thing with our guests. So if you're being efficient with their time, their satisfaction rises because you're being respectful of their time. So, yeah,
Matt, you're efficient with your guest time, and you negotiate.
I like to think so, right? And then those sticky situations are where that it takes longer, and that's where are you doing right by the customer? If you're not, what they can afford, they're not quite there, and you want to work with them, like Tustin said, you want to get every wheel across the curb, right, and get them into the ecosystem, and then get them back into your service department and do the whole thing over 3 or 4 years. So that's that's where when I'm looking at this and you're thinking going all the way down that road, what do you do with that customer that comes in, first time buyer or whatever, you're really close, and the bank cuts you back a little bit, and if you can do an extra $1,000, you can bring them into your ecosystem, right? You're just going to tell them
point.
pound sound, right? So those are those sticky situations where I just get stuck on this where
and Matt, I think an interesting thing when you bring that up, we do, and those are the ones where a manager does get involved, and we will make exceptions on that kind of a deal, when especially special finance world, where a manager has to come in and structure deals properly to make it work.
Sure.
That is one of the places where we will get managers involved to get that deal.
But if you do that for one, do you lose? Okay, but do you lose the credibility then?
But a salesperson has no authorization to do anything like that.
All right, so there's a comment, Jeff, from Eager K, and I don't know if this is true. I just want to throw this out. We'll see if you all know about this. He said 3 stores in Massachusetts are being sued for discriminatory selective negotiation practices in stores that are truly no haggle stores. They got audited, got caught with deals where they negotiated, maybe like those subprime deals. Jeff, are you aware of those types of suits, and could there be exposure for a store like yourself selectively making exceptions to bring?
I would make the argument that in a full negotiation store, there's a lot higher likelihood of a discrimination lawsuit than there would
Bart?
be.
Yeah, I'm with Jeff on that one. I'm with Jeff. That's the first time I've heard of that.
I have not heard of that. And again, we're getting that online. I'm bringing it in.
I think the biggest liability on that right now is rate markup. I mean, rate markup discrimination is 100% the biggest liability a retailer has on that side.
And you're eliminating that.
We've eliminated that
and going flats. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So one thing nobody here wanted to bring up, but I'm just going to say it. You can respond to this. When you threw out the 1600 PVR and you bench that against Publix, there's a pretty significant delta between where you are and the Publix. How do you deal with that, where F&I is such an important profit center in any dealership operation?
Well, as I said right now, I mean, we've really done a push on trying to get that number better. I mean, if you went last year, I was at 1,000. So
yeah.
I mean, really, our focus right now has been how we can sell value and how we can sell more service contracts, more dent and ding, windshield contracts, things that give value to a customer. That is my focus right now on the back end side. And I don't see us ever being 3,000 a copy like a Public, but I mean, I think where we're at right now is a pretty solid number for what we want to be.
So vehicle service contracts in a world of increasing inflation, labor costs, part costs, and just the sheer cost of the technology to repair a vehicle are supremely important. Maybe it's one of the most important offerings most F&I departments give. What is? Let's go around the panel. One of the folks posting to social said, "Hey, what is everyone's VSC pen?" Well, Jeff, what's your VSC pen? And then Bart.
So I'd say on new cars, we're just under 50%, and that's probably up 10% this year. just
Okay.
from a big focus on that.
Just
idea.
under 50%?
Just 50% on new car penetration. Yeah.
Yeah. Bart?
Wow, it's impressive. Yeah, we hover between 25 and 30% on new, and just a tad bit higher on used. Improvement.
Yep.
Yeah, opportunity. There you go.
Bart?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tustin. Half,
You're good.
Half. Sorry. The
You keep saying half price. I'm going to
half
keep
one-
delaying my responses.
yeah. Half one price, trademark pending.
That's funny. I like it. I'm changing my Facebook status immediately. 62% at a Kia store.
Strong. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Matt.
We're at 50% across the board.
So this is an interesting point, right? So do your sales staff in a one price store lose the ability to truly sell and advocate? And it's interesting. Could you make an argument that F&I results are evidence of that, right? Can you really understand where the customer is and meet them where they need to be in a non-negotiation environment, Bart?
So this is a really good question. So one of our challenges that we have is exactly what you spoke to, right?
Yeah.
And so the ever searching, how can we overcome? We have recently signed on with Darwin in our particular
Good
case
company.
too, we're still Lexus Plus. So our
Yeah.
sales consultants do the F&I from beginning to end too, along with being one price. Our sales consultants take them from beginning to end on F&I. So we're running about the same numbers as Jeff, right? We see the public's numbers, and again, opportunity. So, we're taking them through that process of menu presentation as utterly important, and another like moving up a level, going from a 300 level sales consultant to a 400 level college equivalent, right?
Yeah.
It's ever important right now to do to find that means of increasing F&I, but it all goes back to the question, that interaction with the guest. You got to be able to provide that value proposition in the middle of all of that. And we're hoping that, working with Darwin, we can get there.
Jeff, are you guys start to finish salesperson performs the finance function as well?
So we're hybrid. So the vast majority of my salespeople, we still have 3 finance managers per store. So we still run to a finance manager. When we've worked to this idea of a senior product specialist, where we have 2 or 3 people on each of our floor that they're able to go the whole process all the way through. It allows us to be a lot more flexible in our finance world, where to add a whole other finance manager requires 40 to 60 deals in our world. To add a senior product specialist is 15. So it makes it so you can adjust to your volume levels a lot quicker, a lot more nimbly.
So I have an F&I background. I worked for almost 2 decades for a Swiss-based insurance carrier, came in and trained. I've seen the model F&I going start to finish, or sales start to finish. It's a tough gig because customers come in to buy that car they can touch, see, feel, get excited about. It's a tangible purchase that they all said we need. They come in through your door looking for it. And the intangible part is that protection against something they truly need. And most of them made a pact, a solemn vow before they walked through your doors, they wouldn't buy it, right? And yet, it's another one of those deltas where we talk about customers don't want to negotiate, but then they want an exception for themselves. And then there's this kind of pact where, hey, we don't want to buy that service contract, but at the end of the day, CSI is so much higher if they do, and they need it. How do you train salespeople in that one price environment to take them from tangible to intangible effectively?
I mean, I think it's the training's everything, right? It's having a good training partner on the finance side. We're with Ethos, is the company we partnered with earlier this year. And the big focus on that has been training on the finance side. We don't just train our finance managers, we train our salespeople.
Yeah.
Right? We train our salespeople on the value of a service contract, why a customer needs a service contract, what that long-term looks like for a customer coming back to the store to buy another car from that product specialist if they buy a service contract. And it gets that focus really looking strong for the product specialist to be finance's greatest advocate.
Okay, now before I come to the other side, before I come to Tustin and Matt on the question on training finance managers and tangible, intangible, got to stop for a quick ad read because the producers are going to kill me in the text. We're going to go just a little bit long today. We've got so much commentary in the social media. We want to get to all of this, but we love Repair 360 reconditioning software, the dealership's secret weapon, the platform that connects the dots to help you sell more cars. You can scan this QR code to get more information on Repair 360. Go to repair360.com to learn more. If you're listening to this in the podcast, you're going to go nuts because you want to have a take on this and post into the social comments. So join us live next time. But you do have the ability to go to the notes in the podcast library and hit that Repair 360. We appreciate Repair 360 for sponsoring this panel and the content today. So props to them. So Matt, let's start with you. Like your take on finance and this whole negotiating piece and the higher VSC pen that you have relative to non-negotiating.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're representing the traditional side here anyway.
Yeah.
But we have, 3 finance managers. They're touching upwards of 75 plus deals a month. What we have done with them is we have 2 open spots in the sales tower. So we always have 2 of those folks sitting over on the sales tower. So they're seeing, hearing, feeling every deal that's coming through, right? And then it's early involvement, right? I mean, it's we're using Darwin too, so they're getting out with the customer once they've they've come to agreements on a payment range, right? And then they're sitting down with the customer doing that, traditional 10 question, 10 step or 10 questions, building that allows them to build the menu, custom to how the customer's driving habits and things like that. And then they're taking them into the box, I guess, so to speak, and signing them up. We, again, 800%, they have a F&I trainer, so we're leaning into that. We actually just came from a retreat where we were talking about AI in F&I. And the benefits and efficiencies you can get in F&I from using AI to help build your menus, help build your rebuttals and things like that. So trying to bring in some technology as well to make things easier here and make it a better process for our guests as well.
Tustin, the delta between VSC with traditional and one price, and then I want to transition into AI because you bring up an incredible point, Matt, and how that may affect the pricing models. So, Tustin.
Yeah, so for me, I think the question I ask between traditional F&I and a salesperson running cradle to grave, like salespeople in general don't do well with having tenacity or good wherewithal or follow-up. So by the time they explain to the guest a certain amount of times that they cannot give up the floor mats that we'll keep referencing, how much time do they have to spend not giving that up? And then are they really providing the best opportunity to explain the VSC? And then the question I ask in today's, I look at a Kia K4 that has a 27-inch curved touchscreen. Those are $5,000 to replace. At what point are we doing the guest a disservice by not fully explaining the risk that they're taking by not purchasing a contract on that car? And is a salesperson that's been with them for 2.5 hours, it's worn out, or an hour, any amount of time, going to give it the proper presentation that it needs to make sure that guest is protected in the long run? And if we want great CSI and we want guests returning to our service department and we want to give them the best experience possible, then we all know a protected experience is that. And so I think that's why it makes sense that we have Kia stores inside of our 20 group that are cradle to grave stores. And we see those results. And I'm still going to stand strong that there needs to be a fresh face that comes in that with some new life to that deal and the opportunity to fully explain the risk that a guest is taking by not purchasing some of those products that are available to them.
Yeah. And, it's interesting, even Amazon, they were on our show. We referenced it in our roundtable last Friday. Amazon talked about how they just haven't quite solved for the finance penetration yet. Like on an app without some human interaction to create that need for that intangible product, their penetration rates are much lower. And is the customer as well served? The argument could be probably not. We'd love to go another 8 to 10 minutes if we can, but I just want to ask everybody in the panel if we're all okay. Thumbs up, or does anybody have any conflicts or issues? Okay, fantastic.
Interesting talking on Tustin's comment there. Like,
yeah,
that's part of why we are in that hybrid I explained versus just having everybody cradle to grave is that we found that it's a very unique person that's able to handle that. And an entry-level salesperson, there's no way they're going to be able to run it all the way through in an effective way. The people that we've found that are really good at it, and actually, unfortunately, we lost one because he was so good at it, we made him a finance manager.
That's
how he became our finance manager. But he would start talking about service contracts and all these protection products while selling the car. And so when he was giving the first pencil to a customer, he was doing a fully protected pencil. And here it is. And the customer just said, okay, let's do it. I trust you. That's the right way to go. And so he had a higher PVR than anybody else in our finance department doing it himself.
But that skill set's
someone touched on
so
liability
unique.
earlier too, right? So you know, you really gotta. There's a lot of safeguards and things that you need in place there to protect the store as well.
I would not be comfortable having every one of my salespeople doing finance. It would scare the crap out of me.
And at the point you get comfortable with them doing it, a lot of times they'll go find a finance job because it is such a tough job and it is such a unique skill set. They love the extra income that comes with that position, right? And typically or often you see higher turnover in that. All right, let's talk AI for just a minute. I was this week in part of Vallarta with a company called DAS Technology and heard a bunch of dealers sharing thoughts and concerns they have about AI. And one of the big topics isn't SEO search, it's AI-driven search as customers look to buy a vehicle. And AI is enhancing search capabilities in a way that it's astounding to me. It's not pulling up like Google does, and I may get this wrong. If you have better understanding of it, it's not pulling up a list of all the different vehicles. It's actually going, comparing, and it's just telling you where to go get it. How does AI impact the future of automotive, and in particular, traditional versus one price? For anyone that's thought about this or had some experience, go forward.
But I think if you haven't put your store into Chat GPT or said, where should I buy a Chevrolet in Raleigh, North Carolina? You know, that's the first thing you should do when you leave this call. Specific to your industry. Jeff, I'm guessing yours is going to say, you know, it's a one price store. You know, they're firmly committed to it, whatever it may say, right? Hopefully it's positive things. And then even take it a step forward, you know, put it against your, you know, main competitor up the street and see, you know, what it says, you know, pros and cons versus both stores, because it's a real thing, right? And we actually just changed our marketing partner and went with someone, Flex Dealer, who's thinking about things like that and how you show up within chat searches and things, right? Because I think people are using Chat GPT instead of Google now. It's just the new age that it's the age that we live in, right? That's what I'm using, you know, so you get a lot more information in a you know, a conversational manner. So it's a lot.
So I would just add to what Matt brought up too, is all the information he mentioned, but then also that pricing element too, right? Because people are going to be asking, what is the best price, you know, on an RX, you know, 350 2022 in Indianapolis, right? I'm looking for a used one. So you've got to be very, very cognizant of that and how you're represented, especially in a one price environment like we are, and how that appears in the Chat GPT. It's very important going forward. It's top of mind for me. Absolutely top of mind for me.
Because some customers aren't going to say, give me the cheapest price. They're going to say, show the best dealership close to me with the highest reviews that I can go in and buy a vehicle in 30 minutes and have a specific type of an experience. And ChatGPT is nuanced enough to deliver the result back, and it may not be the low price leader if the reviews don't reflect it. True?
True. Absolutely.
Very true.
And so then does that make a case for one price and building reviews, going through that 2-year, 3-year pain, or does it make the case for just cleaning up reviews and making sure that you have a strong culture? Tustin, what do you say?
See that?
Yeah, it was a great lead-in.
Giddy
I don't know
up.
why
Let's
Bart's
go.
shaking
Half
his head.
price, half negotiation, or half one price.
I'm going to continue to stand on the things I said in the beginning of this interview. Like it is more about culture and what you do with your team and being transparent and being honest and upfront and just standing for the right things. Like that's what we're all for here trying to do. We're trying to create cultures that give impact to our communities, impact to our guests, impact to anybody that we come in contact every day, you can do that whichever way you see fit. You can do that as a cradle to grave one price. You can do that as a traditional store that has finance managers. Like, the way you choose to do it, I think, is less relevant. I actually did this search in ChatGPT in preparation for this today. I wanted to ask its thoughts on one price versus negotiated price. It even said, would you like me to compare your market specifically? I said yes. When it did that, it did not pull up anything referencing that a store was one price or negotiating. It did reference from a third-party lead provider whether the price was a good deal, a great deal, a fair deal, not a fair deal. So I thought it was interesting as I walked through that with ChatGPT, because I don't know if that's something that it's going to lead with as a caveat. I think reviews matter. I think what we build to the back end of our websites and what we can do for our community and what we feed into this ecosystem that is living and breathing and growing exponentially every minute of every day is probably more important than whether we choose to negotiate formats or not.
So this is funny. So I just did your little test. I put my ChatGPT and ran it in and said, where is the best and fastest experience to buy a car in Salt Lake City? I'll buy a Subaru. And it specifically refers to Mark Miller Subaru and one price, low pressure selling.
See, congratulations.
But I think that's how you lead it, though. You lead it with the best and fastest. So if you're
didn't put fastest, it would have not said that if I just said the best experience. But the nice thing is that ChatGPT at least is picking up the idea of what we're trying to push and what.
But that's because of what you're building into the back end of your website. That is, you guys are living and breathing that.
It's part of your marketing strategy.
It's on your social. So all of those cues that you're leading with, you are speaking to the audience. So to every audience that says best and fastest experience buying a Subaru in Salt Lake is going to get that answer. If they just say the cheapest place to buy a Subaru in Salt Lake City, you may not be the answer. And so it is 100% what we feed into everything in this giant algorithm.
But it also reflects what you generally feed into it as well. So as it grows over time, the crazy thing is it's going to give you more of what you want, whatever that is. Which leads us to our final question for today on this panel, which has been incredibly entertaining. We're going to read out all the comments here in just a moment after we end this. If you look 5 years down the road and you have to make a guess, traditional one price, or does it even matter? What does the future look like, and what does the future hold? And Tustin, we got to start with you on this one. 5 years down the road.
I just said it. I'm going to say it again. I think culture trumps everything. I think there's a reason why some retailers like Toys R Us and Blockbuster faded. I think it's because they refuse to change with the times. I do think this world demands transparency, but look at Amazon. The number of products that Amazon sells every day compared to every other online retailer is stifling. It's absurd what they've created.
They haven't figured automotive out yet.
They're not the cheapest price. They do have coupons. They allow their retailers to put coupons as optional on every listing. And you can click whether you choose to use that coupon or not. It's not required. It is there. You feel like you're getting a deal. It creates a sense of urgency. You might click the buy it now one-click button because you see a 5% coupon and you don't know if that's going to be there 10 minutes from now. So I think when we take cues from retailers that are transacting more things in a millisecond than we're probably going to transact in a year, there's some cues there to what people want. They don't necessarily want the cheapest price. Some people are going to look for a deal. Some people are going to look for quality. Why not try to be all of it? Why not try to be there and meet them where they need to be while also giving an incredible experience by taking care of our staff, keeping retention high, and just making sure that you are being as straightforward as humanly possible, and no reason to ever deviate from that.
And with that, Tustin, that's a mic drop from GM Roper. So Bart, your perspective 5 years down the road.
I think that one of the members in our 20 group, they have quote posted price. So I think we're going to have a lot of Tustins out there. I think that you're going to see a lot more transparency in how price is presented. I don't think you're going to see a major migration to one price. Again, culture is the reason why is having that lead in and having that patience for it. The other thing that I would say blow caution to is be very careful with this AI. Everybody's saying the same thing, right? We have no idea where this is going to lead, right?
Yeah.
Be very careful. So many things could twist and turn in all of this, but I do believe it'll probably be a hybrid of this, like a posted price, and the price will be the price when they come into the store, and then there'll be some sort of, we do negotiate, we don't negotiate. That's where I think it'll lead.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't want to pile on to Tustin on this, but just so you know, Mr. Half one price trademark pending, Amazon doesn't negotiate. You either buy at that price or not. So it is.
But they allow their retailers to put coupons on there. You can go search any product on Amazon. There will be one, and they are highlighted with a coupon or without a coupon.
It's still one price. It's still one price.
It's not. Yeah, I disagree.
Oh, here we go.
It's still one price. All right, Matt, and then we'll close out on Jeff. Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think culture drives everything. So whichever way the wind blows, if you're committed to it, like Jeff is to what they're doing there, you can make it work. But I think at the end of the day, we're dealers, right? Car dealers, and we're very adaptable. So I think you mentioned a stat earlier: 56% of the people don't want to negotiate. That still leaves a lot of people out there that want to talk about price, right? And if that number is 75 or 80% in 5 years, I think we'll see a lot more car dealers that are doing the one price thing, right? We want to meet our customers, where they're at, right? So I think the market will dictate a lot of that. It'll be interesting to see where it goes.
And Jeff Miller, you kind of were ground zero for this conversation with Marks you made a few weeks ago. So give us in about 30, 45 seconds, kind of your view on 5 years from now.
So I would have bet over a decade ago when we went one price, I would have bet a lot more retailers would have adopted it by now. And I think that you haven't seen as many dealers adopt it 100%, but I think you've seen a lot of retailers like Tustin that have moved that direction. And what I think has happened is you've seen a lot more retailers that are fully transparent in what they do, which is a very good thing for our industry. The more retailers we can get out there that are fully transparent in what they're doing and not trying to hide things. It still baffles the imagination that there are retailers out there that don't list pricing on their websites.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me.
It's insane.
It blows my mind that someone's just going to put MSRP on every car and expect someone to send them leads.
And Jeff, to your point, to kind of put a bow on it, whether you're one price or negotiation, I think what we're really talking about here is trust. How we earn it, how we protect it, how we ultimately as dealers profit from it. And at the end of the day, this isn't just about how we price the car. It's about how we price the experience. And there's many different ways to approach that. And huge thanks to every one of our panelists today. It's been a lively discussion. To Jeff, to Bart, to Tustin, and to Matt, thanks for joining today's show. We appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having us.
Guys.
Awesome.
Have a great week, guys.
And in just the couple minutes we have left, we're going to go through and wind through these comments. Dan C says, really like these roundtable discussions. We get to hear wider and deeper perspectives under this format. I think the viewers, listeners get a lot of value out of these roundtables. So thanks. Andy Mortensen, it was a hero on this. I love Tustin's view on all this. That's a great comment. Ken Chriskion earlier commented, great point. Yoga cars, one price is not for every market, every brand, dependent on micro location and competition. I actually agree with that. I think there are some OEMs, particularly the ones that do stair step, that make it tougher to adhere to one price, although that would have been a good part of the conversation today. Adam Marburger comes in and says Tustin, and he adds 3 hearts next to it, which is absolutely awesome. Well, to our Daily Dealer Live audience, for everyone watching and everyone who joined in the comments today, thank you so much for joining today's show. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching the Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're here live every Monday, Wednesday, and we're back live Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, across all our social media platforms. To our panelists, to you, to everyone that posted in the comments field today, thanks for being here. So if this is your world, like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never, ever miss a beat. We'll see you Friday, everybody. Thank you.